If you clicked on this video because you are confused about why you got discarded, I promise you, whatever the reason you might think it is, you're probably wrong. But I get it. Being discarded is traumatic and it is confusing. How is it that someone who told you they loved you and was planning fun future events with you could suddenly turn around and out of nowhere, typically over a text message, not only discard you, but then act like the relationship never meant anything? These are the kind of breakups that we can't stop ruminating over because we're trying to figure out what the heck happened. Good one moment, and then they're gone the next. And because our avoidant ex certainly won't give us any answers, and also because our brains don't like open loops, we begin to try to solve the puzzle of why we were discarded ourselves. And unfortunately, if you're anything like me, you're making the breakup all your fault. Hello friends, my name is Maria, and not only do I empathize with anyone out there who's been thrown in the garbage by an avoidant personality, I recently have had the unfortunate pleasure of a highly avoidant woman telling me everything that was going on behind the scenes when she was discarding a man she claimed to be in love with that she had been dating for about 4 months. This discard actually happened while she was talking to me on the phone. She was talking to me and texting her boyfriend, dumping him at the same time. It was almost like she didn't want to look at what she was doing. And then a couple of hours after the discard, she texted me asking me if I thought she had made the right decision. So, if you'd like to learn what is going through an avoidant's mind on the back end of a discard, then grab that bottle of nail polish and let's talk. One of the most common scenarios we come up with after a breakup is we look back to the last time we ever interacted with our ex. And a lot of times there was maybe an incident where the avoidants started to show their true colors and you began to stand up for yourself. You drew a boundary, and that's when seemingly out of nowhere, your avoidant began to pull away, or shortly thereafter, they discarded you completely. One of the most disheartening things about this is when people either call me or they talk to me in the comments and they say, man, if only I hadn't expressed that boundary, at least I would still have my avoidant in my life. And you know, that's not even true. Maybe in that moment you could have kept them a little bit longer, but avoidants are masters of picking something at random that they're gonna deem as a flaw in you, and they will use any excuse to get the heck out of Dodge, especially with someone who calls them out on their bad behavior, even if you call them out in a very respectful way. About 3 months ago, I posted a video that I will link to at the end of this one called Avoidants Hide Your Relationship. In this video, I was stressing out because 2 people I care about entered into a relationship together. It was an anxious man named Henry and a highly avoidant woman named Olivia. This relationship really stressed me out because I knew the discard was coming before the relationship barely got started, only because I've known them collectively for decades, and I know Olivia's pattern of using and discarding men. And I'm gonna tell you what happened, why Olivia discarded Henry, and how I believe Henry can protect himself better in future relationships. And I wanna make the same disclaimer I made in the last video about these 2. The reason this stresses me out so much is because I have known these people almost my entire life, and I love and care about them both. Henry and Olivia's relationship started out like a lot of other anxious and avoidant relationships, where anxious Henry was living his life and minding his own business, and avoidant Olivia began pursuing Henry and love bombing him, dazzling him with interesting conversation out on dates, and you can bet the bedroom fun, yeah, it was probably next level. Henry has a lot of anxiety, especially around women. He's in his 40s, and even though for the last 20 years he's always told me he would like a family someday, his vast insecurities and introverted nature have stopped him from being able to engage in any dating scenarios. He doesn't have any experience in dating. And experience in dating is what helps you find what you're looking for. It also helps you learn lessons and to be able to spot red flags. No one gets dating right the first time around. There's a reason why getting your heart broken is a complete rite of passage for everybody. But we take the lessons and we keep them like tools in our romantic tool belt to help us navigate relationships in our future. But remember, Henry doesn't have any of this experience. So the day that Olivia texted him, he doesn't quite see a few glaring red flags that would let him know that this relationship might not be such a great idea. The first red flag being Olivia was only 1 week out of a separation with her husband that she's getting divorced from. She's not even divorced yet. Henry doesn't realize that, first of all, it is a terrible idea to date people who are still so entangled with exes, especially people that are still married. And second of all, there's a chance Olivia might be using him as an emotional escape from a tough divorce that she's going through, like a rebound. Now, I typically talk to Olivia a couple of times a week, and the same week she told me she began dating Henry, she was also talking to me on the phone a few days later about how, at this point in her life, she's never been so down on herself. She's just insecure, and basically her self-image is completely in the garbage. She's depressed about the divorce that she initiated, and she hates the way she has completely just let herself go. But not for long, because shortly after dating Henry, she decides that they're going to start engaging in a workout program together. And I personally know that Henry has always been a little unhappy with the way that he looks, and he has always wanted to be more in shape. And here's where the difference begins. Henry's probably thinking, great, a brand new relationship, we're working out together, this relationship is really good for me. Olivia's working out because she doesn't plan on staying with Henry. She's using him as a stepping stone until she can get validation, get her confidence back, get her figure back, and monkey branch to her next relationship. And do you think that Henry's motivation to keep working out is going to keep going after the discard? Well, it's going to be tough, because now working out reminds him that he used to do it with Olivia. It's probably something that he misses, and it gives him negative feelings because now she's not there. He has to do it all alone, and he was never used to doing it on his own. It's really important that if you have an insecurity about your health or the way that you look, do little things for yourself and work on it. We need tiny habits that we do for ourselves, whether we're in a relationship or not. And that way, if we do go through a breakup, we can use them to tether our way back to how we felt good about ourselves before that breakup ever happened. It's going to help us heal and get back to feeling like our old selves much faster after a breakup. We are teaching ourselves. It doesn't matter if someone else is taking care of us the way that they should or the way that we deserve, because we will always take care of ourselves. All right, back to Henry and Olivia. The next really concerning item was Olivia was completely flat broke after her divorce. She wanted fun times, but she couldn't afford them. But she knew that a nice guy like Henry, who makes a good living, probably also wants to get out of the house, and he would have no problem footing the bill for everything and anything she wanted to do. And trust me, he did. He paid for lavish nights out and beautiful weekends away for them. And again, here's the difference. Henry is doing this because, hey, he is nice. He's not just nice. He's a really good guy. And he's investing in the relationship because he sees a future with Olivia. He genuinely has feelings for her. They knew each other before they ever got into this relationship together. He is investing in her because he wants this to be a long-term relationship. Olivia just wants an escape from her disaster of a personal life. She would even tell me things that she was planning on doing. And when I would ask her, well, are you going to invite Henry? She'd say, of course I am. I need him to pay for everything. I can't afford it. There is nothing wrong with a man who is motivated to pay a lady's way. But true ladies don't use men for money, especially men they are 100% aware have genuine feelings for them. Another red flag, which is what we talked about in the original video about how people who are serious about you, they don't hide you, is Olivia's actions were not matching her words. Olivia was telling me that she'd already told Henry she loved him. I think she even mentioned, we're in the honeymoon phase, just head over heels in love. And then one night, a couple of months in, I asked Olivia if she was going to invite Henry to a casual taco night with the fam. And she lashed out at me like I suggested they elope together, like this was some huge deal. Olivia completely panicked, freaked out, telling me that she and Henry were not in a position where she would feel comfortable introducing him to anyone. The man that she's head over heels in love with. This just doesn't match. And what's really messed up is that she would post herself out in the beautiful places that they would go to together. Places that Henry was paying for, but she would never once post him in a picture with her. Like, look at her beautiful, exciting life. Olivia's really building up her resume, isn't she? But not with the man that she supposedly loves. If a woman or a man tells you that they love you, you will never be some big secret. And the final big red flag is 3 months into the relationship when Olivia began to show her true colors. Henry actually kind of shocked the hell out of everybody, and he respectfully stood his ground and held his boundaries. And this is the moment that Olivia decided maybe it's time to start pulling away. 4 days later, Olivia was already reaching out to other guys from her past on social media to stir up some romantic fun, because it turns out she was all wrong about Henry. Henry's not the pushover that she thought he was going to be. And what's messed up is if Henry was on one of my encouragement phone calls, he'd come to me and say, if only I hadn't held my boundaries that day, at least I'd still be with her. Henry would say, what was so important to me that I just had to stand up for myself? Maybe her behavior wasn't that big of a deal, and I should have just stayed quiet. I have this channel because I used to think like that. I was just like Henry, and I want everyone to know that we don't need people like this in our lives. Henry did himself a favor, and he probably doesn't even realize it. He probably thinks the breakup is all his fault, and meanwhile, he never saw any of Olivia's garbage going on in the background. Do you know that the day Olivia discarded Henry, she had just gotten into a huge fight with her ex-husband the night before? She was discarding Henry over a text message and talking to me at the same time about what a horrible person her ex was. And then she was continuously comparing Henry, who is a completely different human being, to her horrible ex. And Henry knew that Olivia thought her ex was horrible because she told me all about how when she was going out on the very first dates with him, she was giving him an earful of how neglectful or narcissistic her ex-husband was. I believe it's Henry's lack of dating experience that caused him not to be able to see that not only was she fresh out of a separation, but she could not stop talking about how horrible her ex was on their dates together. A lot of these red flags Henry probably would have seen if he'd had more relationships. But what I'm trying to tell you is that a lot of this stuff, it's only because Olivia is so close to me that I'm actually able to learn what was going on in the background during this relationship things that she only told me and never told Henry. She was showing up on dates, sparkling for him, but deep down inside, she'd never felt more insecure. She was using him for money. She was using him for an escape. She was using him for validation because she was feeling insecure until she could find someone better. She was just flat out using him. Now, you might get upset at me and say, Maria, you say you're Henry's friend. Why aren't you warning Henry? Well, believe it or not, I've been warning Henry about Olivia for the 20 years that I've known him. He and I have been really good friends. We've even lived together as roommates on and off over the years. I would always tell him stories about Olivia's relationships. Sometimes he'd even say, hey Maria, it's a slow night. You got any new crazy Olivia stories? Henry knows that Olivia is not the most emotionally stable person. He even knows that she struggles with light substance abuse. And I believe, if you want to call it a mistake, one of the biggest mistakes Henry has made is not having a fulfilling enough social life that would keep him out of a scarcity mindset to the point where if someone like Olivia messages him with everything he's already learned about her, he would have never said yes to a date. I fully believe that if Henry believed he had any other option, he would never have gone out with her in the first place. Henry probably went out with Olivia because even though he might have thought she was nuts, she's still pretty, and he probably thought it was either this or it was nothing, because that's kind of what his life consisted of. For years, Henry has never really left his house. He works from home, he has his groceries delivered, and I go over all of this in the previous video. His social life was mostly a television set or a laptop, and if you're not dating someone, you still need relationships out in the real world with friends and families and hobbies. These things can keep you from mourning people who ditch you and treat you badly. You won't get so stuck on the breakup thinking you need them because it is them or nothing. And I'll be honest with you, the day that Henry stood his ground to Olivia, it surprised me. It surprised a lot of our friends, and I'll bet you anything, it took Olivia for a loop. You see, what happened was, she was in a pretty crappy mood that day, and she decided to take her bad mood out on someone else. She reached out to Henry and began creating distance and being mean to him for no reason, and he told her as such. Henry did not engage with this behavior. He actually told Olivia, hey, I'm not really sure why you're being so mean to me right now, and I don't feel like I did anything to deserve it, so maybe after you've had a chance to calm down, we can come back and talk about this a little later, but right now, I need to kind of take a little bit of space. And it does make me chuckle a little bit because I guess to Olivia, Henry was not who she thought he was, and she knew it was time to pull the plug and monkey branch to someone else who didn't have such firm boundaries. And Henry might not feel like it right now, but his boundaries did him a big favor, because our boundaries only make us less attractive to people who are looking to use us. But for people who genuinely care about us, friends, family, or romantic partners, our boundaries make us more attractive. And even though I've known Henry for a long time and only ever thought of him as a friend, I will admit on that day, Henry is looking pretty good. I mean, what can I say? Boundaries are hot. Welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about looks. We also need to take care of the inner half. Because when you flip the script and finally begin standing up for yourself, you can really shock the heck out of people in a good way. You become more attractive to people who care about you, people who want to see you win. Now, you could argue that Henry's boundaries backfired. Nope, those boundaries did exactly what healthy boundaries are designed to do. They scared off a woman who thought she could use him for money, validation, and an emotional punching bag on the days where she was feeling insecure. You know, we talk a lot about self-respect on this channel, and I've talked to so many people who feel like avoidance stonewall and neglect and punish our anxious side because they believe they're better than us. Well, I argue that true self-respect means you treat other people with respect. And people who are okay with treating other people like crap don't like themselves very much. And you can't respect someone you don't even like. Trust me, they don't think they're better than you. They're just always in pain, so they inflict pain onto others. When Henry stood up for the crappy way he was being treated, Olivia monkey branched to another guy 4 days later and discarded him over a text message, which is so insulting, especially not just because of like the 4 months they spent together where they were in love. It was insulting because they had been friends. They had a friendship before they ever even dated. Now, Olivia decided to make herself feel better by offering Henry to still stay friends with benefits. It wasn't just to make herself feel better, it was to make sure that she kept Henry bookmarked and continued to have access to his assets, just in case this new guy didn't work out. Trust me. Well, Henry shocked everyone that knew him, and even though he said he was extremely hurt by the breakup, he just accepted it. He didn't beg. He didn't say okay to the insulting offer of friends with benefits. And when Olivia texted him a few days after the breakup to check on him, he was like, hey, you've already broken up with me. Please just leave me alone for a little while so I can go through the healing process and move on. This response, when we look back to when we were discarded by an avoidant, this is like what we always wish we could have done. This response is the anxious person's dream. Even though Olivia did Henry dirty, it almost feels like he won the breakup. Well, not so fast, because now Henry has reached a crossroads, and I fear he has made a choice that's going to bring him down a path that's going to turn his high-value, dumpy dream into a nightmare. 1 week after being discarded, Henry found himself doing something we are all familiar with. He reached out to Olivia. He thought they could go back to being just friends, and he asked her if she still wanted to work out together. Now, Olivia agreed, but it's so true that once an avoidant discards you, the relationship is never the same. They reduce everything that you once had. See, Olivia used to work out with Henry in person at his house before going out to dinner and then lots of bedroom fun. But now the only thing Olivia is offering is working out together, but in their 2 separate houses and over text messages. It's stupid. And this is not what Henry really wants. He wants his girlfriend back. So now he's accepting crumbs. God forbid he keeps going down this path and eventually does accept friends with benefits. And by the way, one person like Olivia using another is not friendship, and there is no benefit for Henry. I know him very well. He will continue. If they continue on with this situationship, he will continue to do everything and pay for everything, just like he was when they were still dating. And once she's gotten everything out of him she needs, Olivia will ditch Henry completely, claiming he has no right to get upset because she'd already dumped him. And it's not like they were officially dating. And that's the problem. It will be like they were dating, and Henry will continue to get so invested he can no longer see the reality that she did dump him, and technically they never actually got back together. Some people might say, well, he's a guy. He should use her for friends with benefits while he keeps looking for love. She offered, right? Fair is fair. Not in this situation. I know men might be built a little different, but bedroom fun with someone that you love, it has an emotional effect on everybody, men and women, and it's important to keep your feet on the ground and see that someone who takes a relationship that you cherished and reduces it to just sex is so insulting to everything that you guys had together. And I guess time will tell with Henry. Last week I asked my partner to take him out for a beer and explain to him that the situation is not normal and it's not okay, because I'm worried that this is Henry's very first dating experience. You know, Olivia had a lifetime of terrible relationships and baggage before she ever got involved with Henry. That discard was coming like a freight train. Henry never had a chance because Olivia would have done this to anybody. Never take an avoidant discard personally. The worst thing that Henry could take away from this is the idea that if he hadn't expressed his boundaries, at least he could still be with Olivia. The best thing that Henry could take away from this experience is the experience. After 4 decades, Henry got into the dating pool. And even though this one relationship didn't work out, maybe it's gonna show him how much he enjoyed being in a relationship. And if he can muster the strength to go no contact with someone who ruthlessly discarded him, it will open him up to be able to move forward in his relationships. And bonus, now he has some lessons under his belt. Lessons like, don't invest financially so heavy into someone until you've gotten to know their intentions a little bit better. Don't just believe their intentions right out of the gate. See if they're the kind of person who follows up. People who pursue you and dazzle you and love bomb you, they might just be future faking you. Lessons like somebody who says, I love you, but they won't include you with family and friends, and they hide you off of their social media. These people might have options, but as long as you commit to respecting yourself and taking care of yourself and you're getting out there, well, so do you. And just because someone is good in bed does not mean they're a good person. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person either. They just might not be your person, and that's okay. Slow down. Dating is a process of getting to know people. You are going to meet all kinds of people out in the dating world, and everybody's sort of got a different reason why they're dating. And it's important to keep in mind that we don't really know the depth of the baggage that someone hasn't processed yet, or how even deeply disturbed someone might be on those first few dates. People can be very good at showing up, and they appear light and happy, and they're cracking jokes, and they're so charismatic, and they're dazzling. But then the reality of dealing with them on a daily basis is very different, and we just always want to be mindful and maybe make a commitment to ourselves to slow down a little bit and try not to get too bowled over when they show up to that very first beach date looking wickedly fine in their tiny little two-piece. And if you would like to see Henry and Olivia's original video where we talk about the very first red flags that Henry was going to be discarded, I'll put that video right here. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live Henry's life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting The Other Half.